So what makes an idea patentable? The three main components. I'm JD Houvener, owner, founder, and patent attorney here at Bold Patents Law Firm. And we're going to get into this, get some detail. I got a long form video for you right here. 3 sections of the video. First section dedicated to eligibility, which is requirement number 1. Requirement number 2 is novelty. And number 3 is non-obviousness. So hang in there for all 3 sections to understand what makes an idea patentable and the 3 requirements. Also, this is an update for 2026 in this world of AI we're in. I'll be touching on AI throughout because so many inventions have, are related to, and have applications using AI. So let's dig into this first section on eligibility. And I've got a really good flow chart to show to start things off. So let me share my screen and we'll go through this flow chart together. It's a wonderful way to kind of look at what examiners are looking at. And this example talks a little bit more specifically to software and AI, because most mechanical or inventions you can touch and feel, there's no question on eligibility because it's a physical product, it's a machine, a device, something tangible. The intangibles, the methods, the processes, and systems like most software, and certainly including AI-enabled inventions, you can't touch it. A lot of times it's just a process or a number of steps. And so we use this chart that I'm going to share to identify, is this eligible? So let's take a look at this screen. And it's true, a lot of AI patents fail because they don't take heed of this exact criteria. So once you have the invention identified, you have to ask step 1, is it a proper category? Is it a process, machine, or system? It must be one of those to continue. If it's not, if it's like a law of nature or just a theoretical topic, it's not patent eligible. So past gate 1, on to number 2. Is it an abstract idea? Math, AI model, or data processing involved? There's a high risk of rejection here because it's just a mental process or just a theoretical algorithm alone. But if there is more to it, if it's got some integrations and it's not merely an abstract, then you can go on to step 3, right? Go to the green step, practical application. Go on to step 4, inventive concept. But if it potentially is an AI model or data processing, then you've got to continue on right through here. Practical application, applied to real world technology. So even though it's abstract, is it applied to something like security, hardware, or systems control? That way it'll be more eligible and you'll be able to continue on. If it's a yes from there, now the question is it an inventive concept? Is it an inventive concept? Meaning more than just generic computing. Does it use AI? Does it apply an algorithm and generically be a computer? Or is it doing something beyond? Is it adding something to the inventive concept? This is a tougher question. It can be a bit hard to parse, and there's some examples that we can go through in another video about what the differences are. How do I know if my invention is just generically computing or if I'm adding an inventive concept? So if there's something extra there on top of the algorithm, something additional, data talking to it, being analyzed, if the improvement is how information is being stored, transmitted, gathered, or if the actual process results in a non-obvious. So we'll talk about obviousness later. Then it's likely patent eligible. So it's quite a bit of criteria here to look through. That's the flowchart that we use with our clients as we evaluate eligibility. So let's take a look at this next step, next major piece, which is novelty. And it's not quite as complicated. There's not a flowchart involved. Novelty has to do with determining whether what this inventor has done is first of its kind, not just in the country, not just right now, but the whole world, all time. Okay, getting a patent is a big deal, and you have to prove that you've invented something that has never been done before. Yeah, first of its kind. That's what novelty means. How you're claiming your invention On a utility patent, it's a written set of claims, or on a design patent, it's a specific black line drawing. That shape must have never been invented before. That design, that aesthetic. And on the utility side, the functionality, what it is you're claiming, the device, the system, the method, the process must have never been done before. That means not been patented or published. So what's available is what's called the body of prior art. That must be analyzed. And so take a look on your own first, then hire a professional to go confirm what it is you've invented. But there's no one else that's already done it or done something very similar. If they've done something very similar, your margin of rights might be so narrow, it might not be worth your time, effort, and money hiring an attorney to get a patent. It may not be worth even the paper it's printed on. So that's novelty. It is something we've worked on for years and years here at Bold, and can go into more depth about what our processes are and our systems for doing a professional gold standard level of patentability analysis. And in the end, what you're paying for isn't just a list of results of the most relevant. It's that opinion from an attorney saying, well, references 1, 2, and 3 are pretty close, but we give you the green light. We think there's enough margin here. We can go after, and we give you a recommendation, an opinion that we recommend you file an application. That opinion is what you need and what you're looking for. All right, this last step called non-obviousness. We're trying to put together all these different pieces to say, is my invention patentable? We talked eligibility, making sure that it's not merely an abstract idea, that it's not merely a generic algorithm or compute system on a computer, that it's doing something else. It's adding a technology. Now, we've also shown, hopefully, that it's novel, that no one else has published, no one else has patented your invention before. The last hurdle is making sure that it's not obvious. Even if it's brand new, even if it's eligible, if an examiner could go find other people's publication, other inventors' published patent applications, granted patents, and combine them and say, oh, it would have been obvious for someone to do this, to try this, to endeavor down this road, to make this application. And putting these together, yeah, yours is obvious, and you will not get a patent. That rejection hurts. So you've got to be able to look at more than just, is it new? Could it be something that's easily derived or easily interpreted from previous publications? And so that is the hardest part about patentability. A patent attorney who does this day in, day out, understands what examiners are looking for, and can help you differentiate, show that actually there's no reason to combine those two. And there's been nothing out in literature or the common knowledge of the industry that would suggest combining 1 or 2 or 3 of these pieces of prior art, and helping to support the inventor as they navigate through and get the patent granted. Well, these 3 pieces taken together, eligibility, novelty, and non-obviousness, are what you need to become patentable. And we put this together in a written patentability search opinion. We've done it for 10 years now, and encourage you to get a hold of us at boldpatents.com to get your answer on patentability. I'm JD Houvener, wishing you a wonderful day. Go big, go bold.